Hey everybody, my name is Ankit Singh, student of BE Computer Science and Engineering, and today we are going to discuss about Macintosh operating systems or macOS. So here's the content of today's presentation. First, we will discuss about what is an operating system, like by seeing its definition, and then we will see the need of an operating system, like what are the functions it performs inside the computer, and then we will see different types of operating systems which are available in the market today, and then we will see about Mac OS or Macintosh operating systems. And then we will see one of its derivative, which is Mac OS X or Mac OS X. And then we will see its advantages, disadvantages, and what are the updates they have given, like various versions in the form of versions they have given. What are the updates they have given to rectify those disadvantages? So, what is an operating system? An operating system is an intermediator between user and the hardware. Intermediator is nothing but a linker between two parties. First party is in the here the first party is user, second party is hardware. Because we user cannot interact with hardware directly because it only understands zeros and ones, but we give input in form of text or speeches. So operating system links the user to the hardware. The second point is it is a software that manages computer hardware. The managing of computer hardware means operating system checks whether a hardware component is working properly or not. Like if there is any error in the keyboard, it is not attached properly, then it will let the user know that here some error is occurred, go and rectify it. And then it allows the user to implement the coding and the task in more efficient manner. Implementing of the code and the task in efficient manner means it gives proper environment, interactive environment, so that user can properly interact with the computer. Like if you are applying some code in code blocks and an error has occurred, it doesn't mean entire system will crash. Only that part, only code blocks, that proper code, that will be not executed, and it will let know the user that here is error. So, need of an operating system. What are the functions an operating system perform inside the computer? The first one is booting, second is managing of the memory, third is multitasking, fourth is provide security, and fifth is device management. Booting process occurs when you turn on your computer, when you switch the power button on, till that interface comes, that enter your password. In between that process, the operating system checks whether your battery is full or not, and that any hardware component is connected or not, or in there is any fault or not. If there is not any fault, then it tells the processor wake up and everything's fine. Second is managing of the memory. The memory management is one of the important part inside the computer, because for example, if you are opening gallery or some photos, it doesn't mean it occupies 8 GB of RAM or some 16 GB of RAM. It should occupy some bits, small byte of memory. Third is multitasking. Multitasking means performing two or more tasks at same time. Like you are typing some letter in the word, and if you want to listen music, so you open Spotify in parallelly, and again you want to copy some data from a web to your text document, so you can open Google Chrome also. Three tasks at same time means multitasking is supported by operating system. Provides security. So security means it is also a very important thing, because no one wants that their privacy will leak. So operating system ensures that your data will be safe inside the computer by device management. Device management means it checks whether everything is okay or not at every time. Like it checks the drivers. Driver is nothing but set of files which tells the computer how that particular component like mouse or keyboard will interact to the operating system. So it operating system also checks that. So here is examples of operating systems. First is Linux, second is Android, third is Microsoft Windows, and fourth is macOS X. The Linux was founded by Linus Torvald in September 1991. Second is Android, founded by Google in somewhere around 2004. Third one is Microsoft Windows. The owner is Microsoft itself. And fourth is macOS, founded by Apple Incorporation. So now we are going to discuss about macOS. So introduction. The macOS or Macintosh operating system was designed by Apple in 1984. Actually, Macintosh is a species of apple, which is a national fruit of Canada, and that's from where Apple word came. And Mac OS was GUI-based operating system. GUI means like there are two ways in which we can give the commands or instruction to the computer. Either we type the code and tell the computer what to do, or we can interact with the computer directly, like in form of images, like icons, and we take the mouse pointer there and click there, tell the computer what to do. Or modern days we use smartphones where we can just swipe our finger to there and we can do anything. And the third point is it was GUI based operating system. Fourth point is the operating system used to power every Mac. Mac is nothing but the computers which are manufactured by Apple. That are only known as Macs or Macintoshes. So in Macs, only Mac OS was present. And one of the major advantage which makes Mac OS better than other was it was designed for particular hardware. Like for example, if we talk about Windows, it is supported in almost every computers and in every hardware component. So if there is some glitch in Windows operating system coding, so it can make the failure of the component of that computer may damage the computer hardware component also. But in Mac OS, it was designed for only Mac computers. So the developers know what kind of capabilities of their hardware component is and what kind of work they can do. So it was an advantage. So now we are going to talk about Mac OS X or Mac OS X. Actually, the Mac OS was originally presented as a 10th major version of the Apple's operating system for Macintosh computers. Actually, this X is pronounced as 10th because it was the 10th major update of the Apple's operating system. There were 9 versions before. So now we will discuss more about Mac OS X. So here's the history of Mac OS X. The Mac OS X is a line of Apple operating system included in every Mac computers. Actually, Mac OS X was a turning point for entire Apple company history. It brought some important changes which are still carried in this Mac computers. The release of the Mac OS was new era for Macintosh. Macintosh means the computers which manufactured by Apple. And as I told that the Mac OS X release was very important event for the history of Apple. The development of the operating system goes all the way back to Next, the computer company founded by Steve Jobs after being forced out of the Apple. The development of the Mac OS X was started when the Steve Jobs was left the company due to some circumstances, and he founded his own company known as Next, which later occupied by Apple. And then the development of Mac OS X was started. So here comes the first version of Mac OS X, known as Cheetah, and the version was 10.0. It was released on 24th of March 2001. The Aqua interface is born with Mac OS X Cheetah. The interface you are watching just now, this blue screen, is known as Aqua interface, which comes with Mac OS X Cheetah. It became the successor of Mac OS 9. Before this, the Mac OS 9 was the popular series which was going on. Then Apple shifted from 9 to 10. This was a huge step from the company. And then it it's a big step in the evolution of graphical interfaces with the 2D, 2 and 3D graphics support, granting an all new visual experience. And this was the great evolution and great step towards the evolution of graphics from 2D to 3D. And then beauty comes at a cost, though actually these systems were very costly. Note this. And then graphics improvements were made Cheetah very slow, which prompt Apple to shift from visual experience to performance in the next. release. Still, this Aqua interface was new, which makes which makes it slow because there were so many bugs which were fixed by developers in the later versions. So there were major advantages of macOS 10. Like first one is Aqua interface. As I told you that the blue screen, the blue interface was very attractive and interactive for the users. The terminal of the Mac OS X allows to access the Unix core, something that was never possible on the previous Mac versions. The terminal means command prompt, we say in Windows. It allows the users to access the Unix core. Unix core is nothing but the kernel, which is actually the part of operating system which takes the input from the user and give it to the hardware component directly. The new native word processor called TextEdit replaces the simple text in Mac OS 9. In Mac OS 9, there was one application named as Simple Text. It was used for word processing. It was replaced by TextEdit. There were also many disadvantages in Mac OS X 10.0, like you cannot play DVDs or burn CDs, and there were a lot of hardware drivers missing for the external devices like printers. The OS was also vulnerable to the kernel panics, which would crash the entire system. And speed was also one of the major issue for the macOS X 10.0. Actually, the first point is disadvantage because at that time the hard CDs and DVDs were the only medium to transfer the data from one place to another. And then the hardware drivers, as I told you, there were specific files that tell the operating system how that particular hardware device will interact to the computer. It was also missing, and the OS was also vulnerable to the kernel panics. Kernel panics means if you are running some code in code blocks or VS Code in Turbo C, the entire system will crash if there was error in a code. So this was also a major crash, a major disadvantage. And speed, although its name was Cheetah, but still it was very slow. To tackle the problems which came in macOS 10.0, the macOS 10.1 was given and named as Puma. And to tackle this problem, Apple offered a free upgrade to the next version of the macOS X, named as macOS X 10.1 Puma on the systems. The reason to give it free because there were a lot of criticism on Apple, and this upgrade addressed many prior complaints, like including the Apple DVD player, and it supports over 200 printers at a time. And then, but still, these many bugs were fixed, but still significant bugs exist, like kernel panic. Those significant bugs which were in macOS 10.1 was updated in macOS X 10.2 and named it as Jaguar. Apple followed up Puma with the upgrade of macOS X 10.2 upgrade and named as Jaguar. The improvements were made by the developers and it brought much needed performance improvement and better interface, but still it was criticized because of its speed. Still, speed was an issue, and the performance was updated by the developers. They kept in mind, and the environment in which the user interacted, they also improved that. The macOS X 10.3 was named as Panther and it was released on 24th of October 2003. Here, the major update was Safari. The Safari is an inbuilt browser which was made by Apple itself, and it was the first official web browser which is made by Apple and replaces Internet Explorer on Mac. In fact, Safari was available on Jaguar, but its first release where it come by default browser was Panther. It replaced the Internet Explorer, as I told you. The macOS X 10.4 was named as Tiger, and it came with the concept of Apple TV, which seems like pretty new, but it was at the year of 2005 only. And it came with the Apple's fifth release on the operating system. Tiger was really a big update for this. And in 2007, October 26th, the macOS X 10.5 update was came and named as Leopard. And at this time, the Mac desktop changes significantly. Like they give major updates in the change of UI and all. And some updates like dock and new menu bar they have given. The Mac OS X 10.6 was named as Snow Leopard. It came on 28th of August 2009 and it was successor of Leopard. In this system, the major update was the entire architectures they started to change. Like the applications which were written with respect to 32-bit, they started to write 64-bit architectures. The Mac OS X 10.7, which was released on 20th July 2011, with the Lion, Apple brought a lot of useful enhancement from iOS to Mac OS, Launchpad multi-touch gestures. They brought the features of gestures also, and as you can see in figure that they also changed the UI also, which is pretty good. The Mac OS X 10.8, named as Mountain Lion, was released on 25th of July 2012. Actually, this update was given by the developers. Keep in mind that this update could make the user's life more easier. Like they provided some apps like reminders, notes, and some messaging apps and all. And then on 22nd of October 2013, the Maverick came into the existence. The operating system number 10 debuts the range of privacy features majorly focused on password encryption and storage. This update was only focused on the privacy of a user, how they can store the data in the phone, such a way that data could not leak and people could feel safe with Mac systems. The macOS X 10.10 update, it was the biggest redesign of the years, from the small things like thin fonts, new color schemes, to big shift towards the flat design, graphic designs, which better matches the design of iOS. iOS is the Apple phones, so they redesigned entire UI as you can see. The OS X 10.11 update, which was named as EL Captain, it came on September 2015. It was much faster than the previous 10 updates, like it allows the users to execute the entire process 40% faster than previous Mac update. The Mac OS X 10.12 Syria. This update was given on September 20th, 2016. This was one of the major update for the history of Apple also because they bring the feature of Siri, a voice assistant which was inbuilt provided in Apple phones and Apple devices, and they shifted to the Mac naming also. And again, more iOS bugs have arrived, such as unlocking the Mac with Apple Watch. Like there is one Apple Watch with the help of which you can unlock your Mac device. The Mac OS X 10.13, named as High Syria, it came in September 2017 after the 1 year, and they bring one new video standard format which is known as HEIC. Its full form is High Efficiency Image Container, and a transition to the Apple file system. They run one Apple file system concept, which is an improved version, improved alternative to its predecessor file system called HFS. The macOS X 10.14. In this update, they given one feature of dynamic desktop feature. This feature means whenever it is daytime, then there will be light mode in your device, and that is night, then the dark mode will be activated. And dark mode was pretty attractive for the new users. And here's the last update of Mac OS 10.15, named as Catalina. The macOS Catalina marked the death of the iTunes, splitting Apple's top destination for the media content into the three dedicated apps: music, podcast, and movies. Apple continues aligning iOS and macOS, the sidecars, a feature that let you to connect the iPad screen to your Mac, and the ability the developers to port iOS apps into the macOS. They bring one new features like you can align your device, you can connect uh, your Apple iPhones with your Mac devices, You can create one environment with the help of which you can directly transfer your apps or files from your phone directly to your laptop without using wires. So where's macOS now? Like macOS 13. Till we are studying about macOS X, now we are studying about macOS 13. Its name is Sonoma. Fall 2023. Like it is the latest version. So let's see what other features they have given. macOS X Sonoma offers a handful important improvements over macOS 13 Ventura and earlier versions. With Sonoma, you can add and interact with widgets on your desktop, treat website like standalone apps, create multi-user profiles in the Safari browser, enjoy completely redesigned presenter view in video calls, and reaction effects in your meetings, inclusive gestures, enjoy all new games and much more. There are many new features which the macOS 13 has provided, and now they are still updating it. So why do developers prefer macOS over Windows systems? So there are many questions like why people go to Apple devices. Still, they are much costlier than Windows. So the answer is the better coordination between the software and the hardware. The Mac OS is the best coordination between the software and the hardware of the component, because Mac OSs are just the operating system which are made for only Mac laptops. That's why. So thank you guys. We will meet in next video with another content.